Best ever listeners, welcome to the best real estate investing advice ever show. I'm Slocum Reed, and I'm here with Harry Nima Zegarra. Harry is joining us from Plano, Texas. He's the managing partner of Nima Equity, which raises capital for commercial multifamily investments. They are currently GP of 784 units in Missouri, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. Harry, can you start us off with a little more about your background and what you're currently focused on?
Yes, welcome. Yes. Well, thanks for having me here in the show first.
Of course.
Yeah. So as you can see, I'm a physician, and my wife, she's a physician too. We're originally from Peru, from South America. We actually met like in medical school. We did medical school together for 7 years. And after finishing medical school, we decided to come here to the U.S. for like for better training and for better opportunities too. So we came here to the U.S. and because of the nature of our training, we were in different states, right? Like I was doing a residency and then like the subspecialty, like fellowship, pulmonary and critical care. So we were like in Pennsylvania for 3 years, in Virginia for another 3 years. And then after that, like I was like for 2 years in private practice in South Texas. And then after that, like we moved to Dallas, where we live right now, and that's about like 5 years ago. And once we moved here, we really loved the area, and we decided like just months after we moved here to buy our primary home, and then like just very soon after that, start like going into real estate.
Awesome. So when did you start capital raising for apartment syndications?
Yeah, so we have been in real estate for about 5 years now. Initially, we were in residential real estate, which is again like the bread and butter of real estate here in the U.S. And that's the way how many people start like
Of course, yeah.
in real estate. We were initially like doing like the buy and hold strategy, like long-term rentals. But after acquiring like some properties, and even with a property manager, we discovered very quickly after a couple of years that it was going to be very difficult to manage all of that. It was becoming more like kind of like a second job. So actually, after we acquired 9 properties, and that was like a year and a half ago, we decided that we needed like to find another way how to be in real estate. And then is when we discovered commercial real estate, and more specifically syndications in apartment complexes. So that was about like, again, like a year and a half ago. Yes.
Gotcha. So you're in 4 states. How many deals have you raised capital for in the last year and a half?
Yeah. So we again like we started again like a year and a half ago, but initially we were doing our research, our education, trying to do networking. We also discovered that it was going to be kind of difficult because of still we both had our full-time jobs, and it was going to be very difficult to do everything ourselves, and trying to do the networking and all of those pieces by ourselves actually. So we were very blessed and lucky that we were able to join like a syndication group, and with that syndication group is that we were able to do the networking, and we were able to use other experienced indicators there with us and be able like to join them in these projects, right? Like, so again, as you're mentioning, like we have been in the last year, actually, we were able like to mainly raise capital for these 4 projects, right? Like that, as you mentioned, one is like outside Kansas City. One is like in Georgia, in Warner Robins, which is like about 2 hours or 2.5 hours from Atlanta. One is in Waco, Texas, and the last one was in Jacksonville, Florida.
Gotcha. Harry, how have you found, let me ask this in a different way. You and your wife are both physicians, very highly skilled profession, as everyone knows. What skills that you developed as a physician do you feel have translated well into apartment syndication?
Yes. So one of the things is that you know, like in medicine, we go through a lot of education and training, probably like until now, like for more than 10 years, like, and even more.
Right.
There's,
Yeah.
I mean, like just medical school and college you would think like it's 7 years plus residency, another 3 more years, and then fellowship is another 3 years, and sometimes people do even more. So one of the things is like be consistent, right? Like be consistent and do your education first. But the other thing is like, again, like as I was telling you initially, to do the networking part and to learn to work with other people together, right? Like from different backgrounds. For example, like in my case, like I'm a pulmonary and critical care physician, right? So every day when we're working in the ICU, we work together and we do rounds, and I need to lean on other professionals that are really good in their fields, right? Like the nurses, the respiratory therapists, the pharmacists, the dietitians. So I learned very quickly that I need to trust other people in order like to grow my business, in order like to be able like to go further.
Harry, that's very helpful. Thank you. I have in my pre-show notes, and you've mentioned already the value of networking. All things considered, you grew up in South America. You've moved quite a bit since coming to the United States. You've been in, I believe you said, you live in Dallas just for the last 5 years now. So when it comes to networking for the sake of real estate investing, what are your top methods for networking and meet and connecting with people who are interested in investing in commercial real estate?
Yes. Like I mean, I would say like the 2 or 3 main ways are like the local meetups. As you probably know, like Dallas and Texas in general are like a big places for real estate, and especially commercial real estate. For example, here in Dallas, we have at least like 4 or 5 national conferences every year. So it's very easy like to be around like great people and people with more knowledge than you in this space. So like, again, like meetups, big conferences, and also like some webinars, and also like since 2020, after the pandemic, we do more Zoom calls and meetups like that.
Gotcha. So you were saying local meetups, and of course, being in Dallas, the conferences that come your way.
That helps a
Where
lot.
do Zoom calls come into play with regards to how you meet people?
Yeah. So I mentioned we still are full-time professionals. So because of that, we needed to leverage other people's expertise, right? Like, so we were very lucky to join syndication groups, right? Like we are part right now of 2 syndication groups. Like they have more experience than us, for example, in underwriting, in marketing, in raising capital. And so we meet with them every 2 weeks, every week, and learn from others who have been in this space like longer than us, right? Like, because like we have been in real estate for 5 years, but if you think about like we're a newer company, right? Like, so we're like a year and a half in this space.
Gotcha. You guys have started in, you said 2 different syndication groups that have done these 4 deals.
Yes. So one, if I may say, like, yeah, so one is a Think Multifamily with Markini, which is a local group here, but it's a national group, but it's a local group here in Dallas. So
And you
it's,
said that's Think Multifamily?
yes, that's correct. Think Multifamily. And also we're part of the Good Egg Investments with Julie Lemon and Annie Dickerson. So we're very happy, and we're very grateful that we were joined and we were able to join those groups, because they have helped us to grow our business and to be able like to, as you mentioned before, like to do more networking and to learn from others.
Yeah, Think Multifamily is well known, and I had the fortunate opportunity to meet Annie Dickerson of Good Egg Investments at the Best Ever Conference in 2022. To your point about networking, Harry, we were just like getting off the bus at the hotel. We had just come from the Best Ever party. You know, were you at the conference?
No,
Okay.
I really wanted to go, but I mean, I was on call that week. So, I mean, that's one of the things about my work still, that sometimes you
Yeah.
are in the hospital, and even that you do your best, you cannot change your shifts. So yeah, I try to be like around like as much as I can, but as you know, like I still have a full-time job.
Yeah. So while we're on the topic of networking, how I met Annie Dickerson, we were coming back from the Best Ever party. A sponsor, bus us all to a bar, bought us drinks, great party, great conversation. We all come back. We were on we brought the bus back. Annie was on my bus. She was looking to get a late dinner, late like 10, 11 o'clock at least, mountain time. And none of her crew wanted to go with her. And I was like, hey, this is Annie Dickerson from Good Egg Investments. And I can be hungry too, and so I went down to,
you need to take your opportunity, right?
right. I went down to the sports bar, because here's Annie Dickerson and my opportunity to pepper her with as many questions as I can think of before before they kick us out of the bar, or before she's done eating. And we had a really good conversation that led to, basically her spoon feeding me some brilliant ideas that I'm very excited to act on over the next couple of years. So to your point, not just networking with investors, but putting yourself in a position where you have the opportunity to meet high-level operators, high-level capital raisers, investors, high-caliber people in general. And to your point about not only networking meetups, but national conferences, it's a great opportunity to not only hone your craft in commercial real estate, but also to find, meet, get in front of, pick the brain of people who that you've heard of in this space, make a connection there so that you can plant a seed for future growth, and possibly doing deals or raising capital or investing and
Absolutely.
Getting a return together.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Specific to your activity in apartment syndication, what's been the biggest struggle you've had to overcome thus far?
Yeah, so when we started initially single family homes, and then like syndications, one of the problems in general is that you still have a full-time job, right? Like you have a full-time job. My wife is also was in that moment actually she still was a full-time physician. We have two kids at home, 6 and 10 years old. They're very active in sports and all of that, as you can imagine, like how we do things on the weekends. So one of the struggles was time, and the other one was for people to take you wouldn't believe, like for people to take you seriously, because like you're supposed to be a doctor, and you are only supposed to be doing doctor things. If you are a lawyer, also you're supposed to be a lawyer. But there are some people who don't understand. I mean, like that we may have other interests in life, other passions, and that we're very serious about that. So that's when we when we decided, like again, like to go more into this and to put more passion and more time. And of course, there's sometimes like the struggles about time, right? Like, because again, like I'm in bone critical care, I sometimes need to take calls at night or work on the weekends. But I always think like when there's a will, there's a way, right? Like, so we were able to make that work. Even during the pandemic, we were able like to grow our portfolio. And after that, now that we're vaccinated and things are safer now, things are better now. And just recently, actually, like my wife, she is taking a break now from clinical practice. So she's more like at home, and she's taking care of the kids, which gives us way more flexibility. And to me, it's great because it gives me like the peace of mind to be able to do all these things that I actually love.
Nice. A couple of questions from that. The first is, you talk about struggling with, for lack of a better term, getting people to take you seriously when they know you from your current career, or what your career was previous to real estate investing. Getting people to take you seriously when what you want to talk about is investing in commercial real estate. And that's relatively, regardless of how new it is to you, Harry, the conversation you're having with the people you know outside of real estate, your interest in real estate is very new to them. What tips do you have for other people in similar situations who want to be taken seriously by their friends and peers when they're first breaking into commercial real estate?
Yeah. So one of the things is, I would say like, do your education, do your research, right? Like in order like to be knowledgeable about anything, you need to study that, right? Like so, initially, in order like to go into this field, I mean, I was doing again like audiobooks, I was doing podcasts, I was going to meetups and conferences. So at that point, I would feel comfortable to talk with other people about that, right? Like, and the other important thing is like to show other people what you are doing and to some degree what you have accomplished, right? Like so when with some of the people that I talk, like it was like I was telling you, they don't necessarily felt that I was doing this seriously, but to other people that they have been following me for a couple of years and they knew that we were doing single family houses, and to some degree we were taking good decisions in that regards and in our portfolio. They were really on board. They were really on board after we told them and shared the news that we were jumping into commercial real estate. So those are two important things. Again, like do your education, take time to educate yourself and share what you're doing with other people.
Harry, another nugget that I got from what you just shared. Correct me if I'm misinterpreting you, Harry, but another thing that people need to understand when they're getting into commercial real estate is that not everyone with whom you want to share these opportunities, not everyone is going to be receptive. And there's not much that you can do to decide whether or not it's the right time for someone you know to invest, or whether it's the right time, or whether or not they're a good fit for the investing that you're doing. It's something outside of your control. So don't spend too much time absorbed in the people who say no. Make sure that you're just make sure that you are getting out there and getting in front of enough people that you have people who you end up talking to the right people to whom you can demonstrate, here is the experience that I do have. A lot of people come from residential single family rentals or 2 to 4 family, or they buy a 10 unit and they realize how hard it is being active or an owner operator, and they decide to go into limited partnerships and capital raising. Make sure that you're sharing with enough people that you're putting yourself in front of enough people who will say yes. Is that fair?
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, like, and you hit the nail on the head, actually. And I always say this, like, you tend to invest or you tend to do things where where you are familiar with, or in things that you are comfortable with, or in things that you have education already. And that's why so many physicians just mainly invest again, like in mutual funds, in the stock market, in 401k. And it's just because they don't understand, they don't know real estate, and that there's other ways to, or assets where to invest. So like, again, like in this moment for us, and gratefully we have a clear path for financial independence, my wife and I, because we are doing this and we see our company growing, and also we are investing passively with our investors. So our next step, or the mission we have, is just to mainly to share again, like the knowledge with other people. If there's any of my friends or colleagues or physicians that come to me, and for example they are interested in not necessarily in commercial real estate, but they're trying to do single family homes or short-term rentals or things like that. I mean, absolutely, I try to give them information or to guide them towards that, because that may be their passion, or that may be their path, right? Like so, and this is something also at the end for you, to how you feel about how you do things, right? Like you have a role in life, right? Like so, I mean, it's not just necessarily, again, like I need to grow this business or I need to grow like my wealth. It's like, in part, you at some point you are doing things to help other people too.
Harry, are you ready for the best ever lightning round?
Yes, I am. Let's do
Great.
this.
What is the best ever book you recently read?
Yes, it was funny, actually. I was in a mastermind a couple of months ago with Coach Trevor McGregor. You probably heard of him already, and he mentioned this book, like The Gap and the Gain, with Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. So which is a great book, actually. It's a book directed to entrepreneurs, and it talks about how you pursue happiness, right? Like in general, like many people try to pursue happiness, and that's like a not completely right concept. And it goes from happiness is inside you and is right now, right at this moment. Because if you try to pursue happiness, you may never get to there, right? Like, and many times we compare ourselves with an ideal self or with other people who are more advanced, like in our field, right? Like, for example, if I compare myself with Joe Fairless, for example, like he's way more advanced, like years like ahead of me. So I'm gonna feel like depressed. I'm not gonna feel bad about what I'm doing in this moment. But if I compare, for example, about myself 2 years ago, I see what I have accomplished, and I have gratitude for all these things that I have done, and for all these things that I have right now. So that was a very powerful concept, and that's something that, again, like you can apply to, again, business. You can apply to your professional life. You can apply it also to your personal life, and not only also just for you, but you can apply also for other people, like your friends, your wife, and your kids including.
That's awesome. Harry, what is your best ever way to give back?
Yes, as as a physician and as a real estate investor, I think I mentioned we love to give back, like in terms of education, trying to help other people who may want to get started, like in real estate, either passively or actively. Again, like as I was mentioning to you, like have some people that come to me that want to invest with us, but I have other people who come to me that maybe want to do single family houses or short-term rentals. And as I have also a background on that, I try to help them out. I try to guide them in one or other things that I can do.
Harry, what is your best ever advice?
Yes, I think we have mentioned this during the interview. So one is the power of networking, right? Like the power of networking, and not just in real estate, like in any profession, right? Like even in medicine, or if you're a lawyer, like the power of that's super important. And the other two things that I always tell people is education. Do your research, do your education, but at some point you need to take action, right? Like, so like education, knowledge is very important, but without action, you may not go that far.
Last question, Harry, where can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yes, thank you. So we have our company, which is called Nima Equity. It's called N as in Nancy, IMA equity.com. And we're also in Facebook, we're in LinkedIn. And also we have our educational YouTube channel where we discuss about like basic terms about like real estate, more specifically commercial real estate and syndications.
Great. And links to those locations will be in our show notes. Harry, thank you. And best ever listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you've gotten value from this episode, please do subscribe to our show, leave us a 5-star review, and share this with a friend so that we can add value to them with our conversations about commercial real estate investing as well. Thank you, and have a best ever day.